I watched every Best Picture nominated film for this year's Oscars, and this is my ranking, as well as some final Oscar predictions because this award season has been crazy. So let's just jump into number 10. My number 10 pick is going to be F1. And F1 is not a bad film at the slightest. Technically, it is an amazing film. I had fun watching it. I actually watched it with my dad and he loved it. It's very much a dad film. The story is pretty basic, especially for a sports film. So I would say that's the weakest point of the film and why this is so low on my list. But it is a decent one. I'm actually very surprised that this was nominated for Best Picture. But technically speaking, this is an amazing film, which brings me to my Oscar predictions as it pertains to F1. I personally think it's going to win Best Sound, as well as Film Editing, because the editing was absolutely amazing in that. I believe its biggest contender is going to be for visual effects, because I think that one's going to go to Avatar: Fire and Ash. By the way, welcome to Tea and Popcorn, where we spill the tea on all things movies. My name is Megan, and welcome to this cozy virtual tea party and movie club for the film Girlies. All these films are great in their own right, so this ranking is just based solely on favoritism. So with that being said, my number 9 is going to Train Dreams. And this was one of my honorable mentions when it came to my favorite films of 2025. I think this film is visually stunning, and the performances are very underrated. I'm very surprised that Joel Edgerton didn't get a Best Actor nomination because he gives such a raw, emotional performance. But it is a very tight race this year when it comes to the acting awards. But I'm not surprised that it did get a Best Picture nomination because it really does feel like an Oscar film. As far as my Oscar predictions, however, I don't think that it is going to come home with anything, even though the cinematography is absolutely gorgeous. And if it was to win anything, it might be for cinematography, but I honestly think that it's going to go to another film, which I will talk about later. Same goes for its nomination for Best Adapted Screenplay. Even though it was a very great screenplay, I think another film is going to take the win home. At number 8, Begonia. This was my number 10 pick for my favorite films of 2025, and I think I actually liked it better upon rewatch. I'm not surprised that this got nominated either, considering Yorgos Lanthimos' track record of having Oscar-nominated films. So at this point in time, he's really Academy favorite. Emma Stone nomination is also not surprising, and she does give a very great performance. I also have to give Jesse Plemons his flowers as well, and he was snubbed for a Best Actor nomination. But again, this has been a very tight Best Actor race. As for my Oscar predictions, even though I do like the score when it comes to the world of the film, I really don't think it's going to win. And I think Begonia isn't going to win anything this year, unfortunately. At number 7, The Secret Agent. I liked this film a lot, and I think it is really awesome that a crime drama is nominated for Best Picture, especially a non-English film. I was pleasantly surprised by this. And shout out to my subscribers for recommending this film. I truly think this is worth all of the Oscar buzz. The runtime was a little bit long, so that is my only nitpick. Other than that, this is a fantastic film. Ragnar Mora is a standout. He's a star. Like, that, he is the best part of this film. His performance is out of this world. And I didn't mention this before, but he is also another actor that played 2 characters. And he does both roles very well too. One of the characters he portrays does have more screen time than the other, but even with the character that he portrays that has the least amount of screen time, he just knocks it out of the park. Wagner Moura would be my number 2 pick when it comes to a prediction for Best Actor. However, I think another actor is going to win, but I do think Wagner Moura does have a great chance of winning if the other person does not win. But my bet is going to go to Best International Feature Film. I think it's going to win. And shout out to Brazil. Shout out to my Brazilian subscribers because y'all are up in here. Which would be so awesome because the film I'm Still Here won last year, which was also a Brazilian film, and I would really love this film to win as well. At number 6, Sentimental Value. This was also one of my favorite films of 2025. Thought it was a beautiful slice of life film about generational trauma and reconnecting with estranged loved ones. The performances really make the film worth the watch, and I really like how the story was told. It's a slower film, but it really does keep your attention the entire time. The cast are so deserving of their nominations because, whew, This one is a little bit tough when it comes to Oscar predictions because I do think that Stellan Skarsgård has a very great chance of winning Best Supporting Actor because he did win the Golden Globe, but I do think another actor is going to win, but that is my close second pick. At number 5, Marty Supreme. And this is where the commentary gets interesting. Marty Supreme was a film that grew on me after I watched it. I originally gave it 3 stars on Letterboxd, but then as I thought about the movie more, I bumped it up to 4, and it ended up being one of my favorite films of 2025. It really does bring Josh Safdie's chaotic energy, very similar to Uncut Gems. Come to think of it, the plot is very similar to Uncut Gems. But this was a fun movie to watch. Now let's go into these predictions because I need to correct myself on some things. At the start of this award season, Timothee Chalamet was the front runner because he got the Critics' Choice, he got the Golden Globe, and people were thinking that this is going to be his Oscar win. And hands down, this has been a very tough Best Actor race. I even said in one of my previous videos that Timothee Chalamet had a very great Oscar campaign. And as it turns out, that's not really the case anymore. In a conversation that he had with Matthew McConaughey, he said that he didn't want to work in industries like opera and ballet because no one cares about opera or ballet. Here's a clip for reference.
I don't want to be working in ballet or opera or, things where it's like, hey, keep this thing alive, even though no one cares about this anymore. All respect to the ballet and opera people out there. I just lost 14 cents in viewership.
Even though this was posted on Variety's YouTube on February 24th, it started gaining traction online around March 6th, and the opera and ballet community were not having it. Heck, I wasn't having it either. I mentioned in previous videos that I did dance growing up, but I'm telling you, professional ballerinas, that's a sport. Like, I'm being so honest. Like, it takes so much athleticism. People literally train from the ages of 3 to become a professional ballerina. It's that intense. Same thing with opera. My aunt was a professional opera singer at one point, studied opera in school. It takes so much vocal discipline. It's not something that you could hop into. And opera and ballet are not dying industries. They've been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. And I just wish that opera and ballet was more accessible to people because it truly is worth seeing. I just find that Timothée Chalamet's comments were very ignorant, especially considering a lot of the Academy voters either have a ballet background or an opera background or just something related to the art. Why are you dissing one discipline that is closely connected to yours? Especially as someone that went to LaGuardia High School, which is literally a art school. And I also want to mention this too. A lot of people are like, well, he's young. He's 30. The man, he's a grown man. Yes, he looks like he's in between 17 and 23, but he's a 30-year-old man. He knows better. He does know better. He actually lost the actor award this year, or otherwise known as the SAG. But I think that is really telling when it comes to the Oscars. Allegedly, he was losing favor with Academy voters, even though voting ended on March 5th. The interview did come out on February 23rd. So I think the Academy voters were aware of his comments way before the internet caught wind of it and before he came viral. With all that being said, I don't think that Timothée Chalamet is going to win Best Actor, which I think would have been the only win for Marty Supreme. I do think Marty Supreme is going to go empty-handed. It's so ironic. If you're watching the video version of this, I am wearing an A24 shirt just because it's comfy. A24 has some good merch. All these other studios need to step up their game. At number 4, Frankenstein. I thought the performances were absolutely fantastic. It's just so stunning. I love it. I just love Guillermo del Toro's take on Frankenstein. And I just feel like his aesthetic just really matches the world. And I'm glad that he took on this story. Frankenstein does have 9 Oscar nominations. I kind of think that it might win for production design, so that will be my pick. I also think it's going to win for Best Hair and Makeup Styling, and I think it's going to win for Costume Design. That's my lock. The Academy just loves elaborate period pieces. Like, they just love that type of stuff, so that's the reason for my lock for Costume Design. Number 3, One Battle After Another. This film grew on me a lot, and it ended up being one of my favorite films of 2025 as well. I do talk more about my thoughts on the film in my best films of 2025 list, as well as my commentary video called Award Season Feels Off, which I will go into more of the controversies around this film, but controversies aside, but as a comedy film is pretty solid. I still wouldn't watch this film if you're like trying to learn something about immigration and racism and all the isms that the film does briefly discuss, because the film isn't really about that. It just is a backdrop, which people tend to have a problem with. The film is fine for what it is, and it actually is a very entertaining film, which is why it's so high on my list. And I do think One Battle After Another is going to get a lot of awards. I think this is going to win Best Adapted Screenplay for sure. It's a lock. I also predict that Paul Thomas Anderson is going to win Best Director. I thought that from the beginning of awards season. I'm sticking to that. Tiana Taylor is likely to win Best Supporting Actress. But it's kind of crazy. Polymark actually predicts that Amy Madigan is going to win Best Supporting Actress, which I wouldn't be mad at either. I mentioned in my Actor Award video that Amy Madigan had one of my favorite performances of 2025. But so far, Tiana Taylor does have a 30% prediction, considering the Academy's history of snubbing horror performances and just really horror movies in general. That's why I do believe that Tiana Taylor is going to get the win, or we're going to get a surprise win from the other nominees. I also predict that Sean Penn is going to win Best Supporting Actor. I also think that One Battle After Another does have a very great chance of winning Best Picture, but it is really neck and neck with another film, or maybe even another two films, which brings me to my number 2 pick, which is Hamnet. I loved this film. I was pleasantly surprised by how much I loved this. Chloe Zhao does it again. She's a fantastic director, and this story is just really up her alley because it talks about grief, and Chloe Zhao tackles those topics very well in her filmmaking. Her film Nomadland won Best Picture, so I wouldn't be surprised if this was a surprise Best Picture win. But for my thoughts on the movie Hamnet, this was such an emotional watch. I was sobbing watching this movie. Like, it is so emotional, but it's just like so good. Ooh, it just gives me chills just thinking about it. I really love the cinematography and its use of color within the production design and the costume design. I just nerded out over that. Jessie Buckley, she's gonna win. My gosh, she is incredible. She is going to win Best Actress. I've been saying that since day one. This is her time to win. She just laid it all out. Her performance is just so good, and she really is deserving of a win. So that's my lock. I think that's like the clearest win out of the Oscars. And to my number 1 pick, which is unsurprising to those who've watched the channel, Sinners is my number 1 pick when it comes to favoritism, and it got 16 nominations, which is the most nominations of Oscars history, and I'm very hyped about that because, again, Sinners is my favorite film of 2025, like hands down. That was my number 1 favorite horror film, favorite film in general. I'm obsessed with this movie. I've watched it like 8 times and 3 or 4 times in theaters. So yeah, this is my movie. And I truly think this film is going to sweep when it comes to a lot of categories. First and foremost, Best Score. Ludwig Göransson, he is going to win for Best Score. Hands down. I've been saying this from the beginning. He is sweeping award season when it comes to film scores. Yes, he is going to win Best Score. I'm going to make a correction to my previous Oscar predictions video. I do think that Sinners is going to win Best Cinematography. That's going to be my lock, which will be a historic win because Autumn Dorald Agapah is the first woman of color to be nominated for Best Cinematographer. I also think Sinners is going to get Best Casting, which is a new category this year, and the cast is extremely stacked, so I think they are going to win that, and it's going to be a lock. I also think that Sinners is going to get Best Original Screenplay, which will be a win for Ryan Coogler. One of the reasons why I think that, not only because the screenplay is amazing, Ryan Coogler won the BAFTA for Best Original Screenplay, and considering the success that Sinners had at the Actor Awards, I think that Michael B. Jordan is going to win Best Actor, which is so shocking considering the trajectory of award season, because a lot of people were thinking it's going to be Timothee Chalamet. Why isn't Michael B. Jordan getting these wins? But after the Actor Awards, I really do think that he is going to win. And we've seen this in previous years where a nominee that hadn't gotten any wins or just only one win ends up winning the Oscar. And he did win the actor. So I do think Michael B. Jordan is going to win Best Actor. Best Picture, I really do think Sinners does have a good chance of winning personally, it really is between One Battle After Another and Sinners, or One Battle After Another, Sinners, and Hamnet. I think it really is neck and neck between One Battle After Another and Sinners, and it's been like that since the start of award season. But I wouldn't be surprised if Hamnet won either, because it did win the Golden Globe for Best Motion Picture Drama, and so far Parley Market does vote for One Battle After Another being Best Picture, and I wouldn't be surprised by that either. So I would say my Best Picture lock is still going to be One Battle After Another, but Sinners would be a very good surprise, personally, because that was my favorite film, but I think a better surprise would be Hamnet. Film Girlies, let me know what your ranking is for these nominees, as well as your predictions. I really like to hear what you have to say, and I'm really excited for the Oscars this year, because all these films are very great, so it just makes it a more fun and competitive season. As always, give this video a like if you like the vibes, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on the latest video. Check out my award season playlist if you haven't already, and I will see you at the next party. Bye bye.